Welcome to Startalk with your hosts, Colin and Marty.
Hey, welcome everybody to Startalk Live with Colin and Marty. And we're coming to you on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Coast time. And I'd like to welcome to the show a man who needs no introduction.
So we're not going to tell you who I am. So,
well, you asked me not to introduce you tonight because you were going to do it. So that's why I said you're a man who needs no introduction.
A man of constant sorrow. Anyways, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. Excellent.
Your wall's taking really good shape. I like the ambience, the rear visual.
Trying out a new camera. I got it's a Lumix G7.
I like the mic.
And so we're trying a little bit of lighting, a little bit of a new camera look.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes. And of course, the Heil PR40 broadcaster mic, which is kind of cool.
Broadcaster mic.
And I thought that would be fitting for a rock and roll show tonight. Hey, we've got some people already joining us in the chat. Always nice to see. Welcome, Kev Mo. Bring on the Star Talk. You know, I've been popping into a few of those Twitter spaces lately and saying hi to some people. I was on one last night all about Web3 and about crypto and NFTs and things like that. And man, there's some pretty smart people in there with a lot of great ideas. So it's been a lot of fun to kind of mingle on spaces with some really smart people that have some great ideas. And it's always good to see some of the folks in the chat here that bring some of their energy to the show. And you've got the same hat you wore last week. Is there a story behind that hat?
That hat came to me via some wealthy people who toured the world and everything, and they were in Russia and all around there. So I said, if you see any music memorabilia or something, maybe you grab a guy something, and they did, and that's what I got.
Wow! And so we do have a special guest tonight. We're going to save that intro for a little while because I think you've brought a few things with you tonight, Marty, as usual.
I'm as I told the viewers last time, I'm waiting for a new photo box to arrive. We're just in transit with COVID and couriers and that, but it's going to arrive and it'll definitely take us up a notch. But in the meantime, I found something really funny. We'll start off with funny and rare. I'm a funny guy. You're a funny guy. I like to laugh. You like to laugh. Comedy on cassette is pretty rare. There are stuff, Dangerfield, different things, which I have. But this, I think, is my rarest on MCA. This is with an orchestra. It happens to be the Three Stooges.
Wow. Mo, Larry, and Curly.
That's it. The Three Stooges on a
MCA cassette.
Yeah, MCA cassette, mint, from my personal collection. Then, in honor of our old friend, both you and I, we always like to remember those who we were in contact with, worked with, and had the pleasure of being around and doing stuff. Well, here was a man, he was known, he was in the movie The Roadie, he did numerous acting and everything. And we lost him last week, which is sad. Meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
But this isn't the Bat Out of Hell.
It's a different cover.
CD. No, this happens to be the Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell 2, which is Back to Hell. It's the second one. It's the one after the first. Steinman wrote
Jim Steinman. Yeah.
We recently lost him about a year ago, 6-8 months ago. He left first, but then back to rarities.
Now, did you ever get to meet the meat?
And no, I actually I was close, but no cigar in LA when they were shooting and all that. Cummings and I went around, and I only got to like have a distant look and a maybe an icon, like, you know, not a personal handshake, jump off the stage, how are you, kind of thing. Just a eye and visual nod kind of a contact.
Right.
It was good enough at the time, you know.
Yeah, I think we wore that record out back in our day.
Definitely.
And what a
Now,
phenomenal album that was.
I found our old, which you did all of it. We conspired on everything on it, but you did the work and everything. I thought you'd like to see this.
Oh, Rock Auction. That was our answer to reverb.com back in the day.
You got that right. And we got everything going. We were so great at it. We compromised. We did artwork.
Then we went on the road and forgot all about it.
And then we went on the road. Totally forgot about it. When we came back, we found out that all the work we had done had lapsed, and it expired after registry, and we lost
domain. Yeah,
we actually lost our domain. They didn't get our ideas and or secrets or anything, but they got our whole domain.
Yeah,
amazing. That's a long while, my friend. But as promised to the viewers all the time, something new comes in the mail almost every day from everywhere in the world. I know you'll like this one. I've heard you sing it many times. You do a great job on it. I don't know.
What is this? I'm curious to know.
Well, this one you're going to know. That one.
Back up just a little bit. Back up a little.
From Greece. And it's your favorite and mine, the Guess Who, doing These Eyes.
Wow.
With the flip side being Lightfoot.
And look at that. It's still got the center in it.
Yeah, it's still got the center in it because it's from England.
I've never seen it.
Pardon me, from Greece. All the foreign countries, the international countries, the record companies, RCA, London, International, whatever, they put the insert in for you. A lot of people didn't like it. They popped it out. I left it in, like you say. It's so much easier when you put it on the turntable and spin it, you know, like our friend Larry doing his DJ thing with everything. Here's one back into the larger size. This one just came. This is a laser disc. And this is Scorsese's The Last Waltz.
On Laserdisc.
On Laserdisc, which
now do you have a player for that? Because you got to have a Laserdisc player.
I got two.
Of course you do.
Laserdisc players, and I have a vault of stuff. Now, there's one thing before we introduce La France, I'm just gonna, if I could, absence myself just to behind me here to my little vault. There's something in there that I want to bring out in honor of our guest who's coming.
It's not squeaking or anything, is it?
No, it's not squeaking. It's not
not moving.
It's definitely a rare piece in the music field, and he was on it.
Oh, fantastic!
So I think that'll be the way to go, and it's right up to the minute, my friend. So you can.
We're gonna want to have as much time. Our guest tonight is a fabulous musician, a singer, good friend, and he's sung with a lot of amazing talent over the years. And we might as well bring him on while Marty's hunting around. Let's welcome to Startalk Live. This is Mark LaFrance. Mark, welcome to Startalk Live.
Man, this is really enjoyable. I watching you guys has been. I'm totally entertained already.
Oh, we have a laugh. I mean, we just have some fun. And as you can see, if you can look in the comments, the chat room, we've got people that have joined us. Welcome, Lynn. It's good to see you back. And Russell, he's saying, how's it going? Great to see you guys.
I'm back.
And it's good to, Megan, welcome. And more people will probably join the chat. Plus, we have some folks on YouTube that join the live stream. And of course, many people watch it after the show has aired, including myself.
Of course.
But it's good to have you on, Mark. And,
Oh, it's great.
And,
It's great to be here. Great to be here.
the people that are watching the show, they love to hear the stories of behind the scenes. And now you've traveled the world. I know that because you and I have played together many times. You've had some amazing experiences and concerts. If there was one thing that stood out in your career that you can kind of say, this is one thing that is the coolest thing that I remember, what would that be?
I don't know. It's hard to say because yourself, there's so many different times that you've had the opportunity to be in the right place or the right show, and just there's been a lot of highlights. That one was playing at Sweden Rocks. That was the first big show that we did with Bachman Turner, and God, that's almost 10 years ago already, I think. Wow. But it was like the night before Aerosmith played, so we got to see them. And a lot of these guys were staying in the same hotel, so you'd have Nazareth and Billy Idol, and we warmed up. I think that day we warmed up Guns N' Roses. So it was like that was probably one of the bigger shows that we did. But there's
there's so many.
It's just hard to tell. I've been pretty lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're a drummer, you're a singer, but you've also owned your own record label.
Delinquent
Records.
Records.
Give us a little. Starwire and our broadcast here is really about how we are creating new technology for the music industry moving forward. And what are some of the stories about how artists didn't get paid or did get paid, or how things worked? Because I know you were you were working with neighboring rights. You were doing quite a bit of the admin side of things. Give us a little background onto how the record labels have really challenged artists over the decades.
Well, it's funny because I started my label back, and I did an album with Paul Dean. Paul Dean produced an album out of nowhere for me back in '94, and I was looking for a record deal. Obviously, got to the point where I just decided to start my own label, and I released it myself in Canada. It did all right. I mean, I got the first single, "Act Out Your Fantasy." Made it to number 54 with a bullet back in those days. Wow. in the record, which was was something. And ended up getting some deals with direct selling some product in Europe. And not long after that, I ended up going to southern France to promote myself. And then, of course, even Colin, you might remember, actually brought your stuff to a conference.
To meet him, yeah.
To meet him. And that's actually the first meet him I was there, Marty. You were there with Randy.
That's right.
And I remember we were all sitting together at one of the best pizza in the world.
Oh yeah, the restaurant.
La Pizza.
Oh,
And I remember we were sitting with, I think it was Bill Henderson was there.
Henderson was definitely there. I have a picture of that. I took a picture of that.
And Bobby Curtola was there with his manager.
Correct. That's correct.
And I remember his manager, who was quite the character.
Robert.
Yes,
Robert.
He was a character.
Robert.
But anyway, just having you talking about, with the record labels and stuff like that, just a lot of artists would sign deals and get huge advances and, get the limo treatment and not realizing that these big parties that were being thrown they were paying for it. They didn't realize it at the time, but, then when it came time to, they thought they sold so many different records to get the accounting. Well, all of this stuff that would be against their 6 or 7% of 90% of the retail cost of a record was coming out of their royalties, which they never got because they had to pay, sometimes for the videos but they did, even though they had lawyers and, most guys that just didn't realize what it takes to be on top of your business as a musician. We know that there's so many guys, even today, a lot of guys that just don't have a clue about, song publishing, neighboring rights, mechanical royalties, all that kind of stuff. So for me, I kind of educated myself about that with all of that as much as I can. I'm still learning, but And I had the good fortune to be on the Musicians Union board many years ago, and I actually ended up lobbying for neighboring rights. I appeared in front of Canadian Heritage. As you know, at that point in time, I'd done many recording sessions.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the law finally did get passed. And if you have songs that are played on the radio throughout the world, and you're even a side player, you get, if you register your stuff with different collectives, I guess in Canada, Actor Racks, or there's a number of different, and in AFM, SAG-AFTRA in the States, you just got to be on top, make sure you register all your performances, and you can actually get reimbursed for your performances throughout the world. Because I think now there's for airplay, there's close to 60 or 70 countries that have signed on to the WTO grant. But it's funny, most people are surprised, but there's, which countries would you think, like, let's say there's 2 or 3 that major countries that haven't signed on to this WTO grant? Guess which one you would, just make a call.
Random guess?
Random guess, yeah.
I wouldn't sign on to it?
That didn't so far.
Probably China and India and
Russia.
The USA.
I was going to say the USA, but that was kind of too obvious.
USA, I know, because the broadcasters are so strong there. Although now you can get royalties on satellite radio.
Oh.
But terrestrial radio, like in Canada and everywhere, France, all over the world, you get terrestrial radio, which is like, CFOX and those kind of stations.
Yeah,
In the States, terrestrial radio still hasn't signed on to it because they're so strong. They're working. It's getting closer. But it's funny. I think it was the 2 countries that were like the USA and North Korea.
Well, Colin said China.
Well, let's go.
I think
got
China.
Some folks got some folks in the chat, and I want to reel things back a little bit. And you have a long history of singing on a lot of people's records, and maybe Garnet, you could show a few of those, and then maybe we'll take some questions from some of the people in the chat.
Sure. Great.
Of some of the musicians that you've been able to work with, and actually, you're on their record. So
sure.
Yes.
Look at that.
Well, that's my catalog.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Nice,
that's the Delinquent Records catalog.
Yeah, but it's an impressive catalog.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay. There's I even have to look at the Alice Cooper band back. Okay. Black Veil Brides, which were a band that Bob Rock produced, Blue Murder, Boulevard, Bon Jovi, that was a big record. Bruce Miller. Yeah, Carly Simon, Cher.
Yeah, sure. Wow.
The Cult, the Sonic Temple album, which was a huge, worked with David Foster a number of times when he produced the Payolas.
Our Time to Shine. I was on that show too.
Yeah, you remember that one? Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I remember I never got home to change my jeans, and I still had my crappy pants on for the show.
Remember the theme? I'll never forget, because I remember doing. It's funny, when Expo happened, there was like the year before. I also worked on a lot of commercials before I did a lot of the album work. Actually, that's where I met Bryan Adams. We were singing like McDonald's commercials and stuff when I moved here in 1980.
Really?
In 85, we started doing a bunch of the themes for the fireworks display at Expo and all of that kind of stuff. And then there was that you're taught Our Time to Shine. It's gonna be an incredible year.
Do you remember us being around David Foster's piano?
Yes.
Do you remember rehearsing that?
Yes.
And we were all leaning on the grand piano going through our parts.
Yeah.
Right after that rehearsal, Mark, we went down and we were sharing a dressing room with Cheech and Chong.
Oh, I remember. Tommy Chong, and I remember that.
Yeah, and for some reason he lit up something to smoke, and it set off the smoke detectors.
I remember. Yes, I remember.
And when the security came to the door, he walked over to the door and he looked at the security guys. He goes, "I hope you brought your own, man, because this ain't gonna make it around."
What a character!
I'd forgotten you were on that show. That was fun.
Yeah. I remember because
you
we had,
go.
had to dress in a bunch of white tuxes and stuff. And
Wow.
yeah, I remember there was even a choreographer. I remember
You dress up.
that's the first time it's like you had, okay, you got to walk this way across the stage. And then when you get to this point, you know, it's like, and you're singing the, it's our time to shine, the moment in the sun.
And we were all on different levels.
Yeah.
Remember those boxes we had to stand on, all at different levels? That was.
I know.
So I see David Lee Roth here. I remember that
Yes,
session
that was,
too.
Yes, it was actually that was the Little Ain't Enough album, and
Wow.
he was amazing to work with. He was like Little Mountain of Sound, of course, was famous, you know, because of the great producers and what was happening there.
Right.
But it also because of the drum, the loading bay, which
loading bay for the drum sound.
For the drum sound. Well, when David Lee Roth, and remember it was quite high. It went like it was really high. But anyway, he had his rock climbing wall in there. And of course, again, you know, not unlike Cheech and Chong, there was like all kinds of odors coming. So I guess he'd go have a little puff and go climb the wall. But he was like a lot of these sessions we did. Sometimes the lead singers weren't necessarily singing background vocals with whoever happened to be singing on those sessions. But he was right in there with us doing on quite a few different things, singing with us. And he was just a fun guy. And I remember him telling me, he says, "Mark, you got to come when I come to town. You got to come to my show. You'll never see a backstage like mine ever in your life." So I got my first gig. I think it was one of my first gigs for my solo album in '94 was at the Commodore, and I warmed him up. And he was right. There had to be like 200 like buxom females, you know, backstage. And I remember coming backstage, chatting to him after the show, and he's sitting there. There's about 5 or 6 of these buxom females
and
around.
Just a gigolo.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was but he wasn't kidding when he told me that. So,
now, Donna Summer, where was that recorded?
That was at Little Mountain Sound as well, and it was with David. David Foster was producing that one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. She was really cool. She was a very, very nice lady. Unfortunately, she's since passed, right?
Yeah.
But that was amazing. That was Little Mountain was like one of those places where, you know, like I said, I really first started when I first moved to Vancouver. Yeah. About maybe 2 days after I moved here in 1980 in June, I think, or May or June, I got a meeting at GGRP, Griffith Gibson Ramsey, and I had my demos because back in Winnipeg, I'd worked a lot of sessions at Road Studios and Century 21 doing commercials. And I did actually an album with Chad Allen back in Winnipeg. Wow. And then, and so I had the 2 Crocus albums, and I went and had a meeting with Brian Griffith. We were sitting there. I played him, you know, the album, and he phoned ACTRA right on the spot, and he said, "Yeah, we got this guy. You got to sign him up to ACTRA right away. Don't worry, he's going to do more than 7 sessions because back then you needed to do at least 7 or 8 union sessions to join ACTRA." So he got me on right away. I was starting to do jingles from almost the day I moved here, which was
right.
And that was the start of, you know, that whole thing with Little Mountain, because you had Bob Rock and Mike Fraser and these guys that had been kind of coached by Roger Monk, who was the engineer at Little Mountain at the time. These guys cut their teeth, you know, doing jingle sessions and learning how to, you know, mic drums, learning how to mic orchestras. Because, you know, we come and do these huge Chevy ads and they'd have like a huge 20, 30 piece orchestra sometimes on some of these sessions. So these guys learned how to develop their technique before, you know, they, I think it was finally when Bob Rock and Fairburn worked on the Loverboy album.
Loverboy record.
And the Loverboy album was the one that, like, that lit the fire to get you know, Bon Jovi came, and then it became the floodgates for a good 15 years.
White Snake and
heavy metal,
White Snake and
Deep Purple came, and of course Aerosmith. Slippery When Wet, 7 million copies sold. We were actually recording in Studio A when Bon Jovi was in Studio B, if you remember that. I was there with Paul Jantz that summer.
That's right. I worked on one of his records as well. I think with Paul.
That's right. Actually, I think we sang
Yeah.
together on
Yeah.
Close My Eyes, I think.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah. And he, and I remember at that time because Aerosmith was on one side of the studio recording one of their albums, and Motley Crue, which I worked on, were on the other side of the studio. So it's like you'd be sitting, in the studio and chatting with, Steve Tyler or whatever. It was just like a normal day. So crazy thing is too, is then you'd be sitting in the, remember the room that when you entered Little Mountain, it was kind of, there's a lounge area right there. And then they had one of the ladies from GGRP, her mom had a little sandwich shop or something. And that for lunchtime and stuff, she'd make sandwiches and stuff. So you'd be sitting there waiting to get in to do a jingle.
Yeah.
And then Bob Rock would walk out of the studio and say, Mark, hey, I'm producing this band, The Cult, next week. Can you come and do background vocals? And say, oh yeah, sure. Okay. So then you're in the next week, you're in there, sitting there doing, working on The Cult thing. You're sitting in the lounge and one of the guys from GGRP walks in, hey, I'm doing a McDonald's ad tomorrow. Can you come in? And, so some days, I swear to God, some days I go there, not have a session, just to have a sandwich, sit down, and then somebody would come and I'd get a gig. It's just crazy.
I remember sitting there having a pizza, watching a movie with Steve Tyler.
Yeah.
And Bob walked out and said, Colin, can you sing on Barney Bento's thing tomorrow?
Really?
Yeah.
I went, okay. And so
it was like an amazing time. It really was. It was a magical time that you just look back and, at the time when you're going through that. At the time,
let's go back to Winnipeg for a minute and let's get Marty in this conversation because Marty's originally from Winnipeg and so were you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're both from Winnipeg. Yeah.
So take us back into those days. Did you
those
ever
days.
cross paths in the early days?
I don't know that we did. I
don't think we did.
We met in Vancouver.
Here, I don't think.
Yeah. But I remember it was Winnipeg growing up there, of course, when I started playing, we had the community centers and like Randy Bachman says all the time, it really was like the center of the world for us because it was like the Liverpool of North America. And there was like two bands on every street. It was just crazy. All the community centers, the high schools,
school dances, remember?
And then of course
socials.
Socials. And of course for me, when the time I started playing, you had, I basically saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan when I was 9 years old, and I saw these guys and loved the music, but all these girls were freaking out, and I went, "What a great job, man!"
For me, I'm in. Here's one, Colin, for both of you. This one is seldom seen. I don't know if we can get it.
Wow.
That's the original one where McLean, rest his soul, emceed, and they had a trailer outside the community center, and they had Gary broadcasting from there and donations to the food bank, which I thought was really cool. And you got in, and of course the building filled up. Those the old days, 200 seaters or 150 seat gone. And the outdoors, they had a PA on the side of the trailer and that. So tons of people got to see and hear the show. And the beauty of this is immediately after this, the only time they went back to the club show, they launched themselves on the Canadian tour, running back through Canada. And minus Cale. But of course, Wallace and McDougall which only strengthens us, as you know, and they went out, they were on fire. When they went out that year, they sold out 45 venues in a row from one end of Canada to the other, which launched the Joe Cocker.
Yeah, I remember seeing that show.
And them. Great. And McLean's last days.
Now,
of
for those
work.
people in the chat who don't know who McLean is, it was a comedy duo in Canada called McLean and McLean.
Correct.
And if you
Gary.
Google any of their material, it's not for the faint of heart,
That's true.
so to speak. But
No, it's funny. It's funny stuff, though. Yeah,
Well, they were
it's
funny
pretty
guys.
funny. But
but they were amazing. They were such amazing guys. I remember going back
Yeah.
to Winnipeg. I remember sitting up many nights with Gary and
Blair.
with Bert and with Blair and with Burton sitting at
Oh, yeah.
McLean's place having
Oh,
a
for
beer
sure.
or whatever. It was such a, for me I'd be sitting there as a young musician,
Yeah.
just like watching these guys and
Right,
listening
yeah.
to talk.
Remember?
And that was an amazing thing too. Remember that for me, when of course the Beatles hit, and like maybe a year, two after,
Yeah.
a band from my hometown, the Guess Who,
Yeah.
started making it. So
Yeah.
for us young musicians at that time, it was what they did is they made it look like possible, because when it breaks on a band breaks that you've seen in a community center in your hometown, it just, you go, as much as great as the Guess Who obviously are, but you go, hell man, I can do that, right? You just
Yeah.
would be as
Yeah.
a young, you're full of piss and vinegar when you're a young kid, so you kind of, but they really did open the doors for us. They really did.
Well,
Just like the Beatles opened the doors for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. The Guess Who for us in Canada really opened the doors
They were the
they were the guys that opened up the scene to make it so that the rest
Totally.
of us could make a living doing
Yeah.
this. So
Well, that's
it's been-
fantastic. And you
And
played
you-
with Bill Wallace from the Guess Who as
Yes.
well, and your early band
Yeah, and your
Focus.
Focus.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
then you
that-
graduated. You went to Bachman. which
Well,
was-
that's funny because I look at that now because like my first recording act was Crocus, not to be
Right.
confused with the Sweden,
no,
where I got to play with, it was like Bill Wallace and Greg Lesky, two
Right.
Guess Who guys in
exactly.
1976. And then here I am, boom, like, in 2000, what is it? We're in the future. It's like, it's like,
Boarded right in. You like.
yeah, but you can't help it. It's like the guess, like there again, the Guess Who thing. It's sort of there. It's really been a big part of all of our lives. Despite, I look at all the volume of the Motley Crues and all that kind of stuff, but without the Guess Who thing, that other stuff probably would never have happened.
No.
So,
Yeah.
And
and I'm thankful for that, because it really has a special place in my heart to play that music whenever I can. And I know I love playing it with Colin too, whenever he hires me.
or vice versa.
You're on the list for this year.
Yeah,
Okay,
you are in the 2020. Before
Marty,
we
don't get too close to your mic. You're getting
I'm
a
leaning.
lot of distortion.
That's true. I'm getting
He's
You're
getting
leaning
excited.
in.
I don't have this technology like
You're
Colin.
the-
I only have the mic in the
Needles are going crazy. And
It's always good to be up.
we have to have one of those police line "Do not cross" for Marty. That don't go past this line.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Now
funny.
everybody knows.
So much fun.
Everybody knows when bands like Mark's band, for like he mentioned albums and that, he went on to join with Fred and Randy and do the Bachman Turner stuff in the now, not in the old days, in the now,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And he sang, he played unbelievable and everything. Now, in the collectible world, when these things happen, the independents or record companies, they sign them up and they put out product. Well, in this case, they put out first a CD. To the best of my recollection, and Mark can correct me if I'm wrong after I get to the punchline.
Is this with the Bachman Turner?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, they did. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So the CD, then they transgressed into the DVD,
Yes. Yeah.
and then they went right to the now. And this is the one I was going to ask you because you're on all of them, regardless. Were you aware of the fact that it also came out on vinyl?
I wasn't. No, I've never seen that.
That's the most unbelievable thing.
Wow,
God,
that was
stuff.
yeah, that was the New York. Yeah, that was New York.
I was going to ask you about that because there's 20 cuts on this, and it's rare as hell. Pac-Wan's got his name on it.
Yeah.
Bachman's got his name on it, and Back on Black Rock Classics is the label. But
Wow.
I'll get you that information because you're on every one of these songs, and this happens to be, ladies and gentlemen, 2010.
Yes.
That's only 12 years ago. That's nothing.
No.
No. And
But
you
it is.
probably remember this really well.
Oh yeah. I remember we're doing that show.
A lot of it the best.
It's actually it was released on DVD as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, we mentioned that. CD, DVD. But when I saw this, I said a must. I mean, I have to have it. Because you never know how many copies are going to be released by an indie, right? I mean, it's like you as an independent artist, you can release 100, 200, 300, 500, whatever the market bears.
Well, I think it did go. The DVD went platinum.
Yeah,
I know that.
Okay.
Which is, yeah.
It would be interesting to see how many of these came out, because it would definitely be classified as a limited edition minimum run. You could turn it around, recut it, put limited edition, and put numbers 1 to 500 on it and release it.
Yeah.
And then
and you could do an NFT, and we're going to start to transition into talking a little bit about that. People in the chat are hashtag GoatMANIA. But I want to go back to Mark for a minute here and just talk a little bit about what's coming up for 2022 and where do you see music in general going? We see a lot of technology. We're going to be talking about NFTs, which are collectible pieces of digital content, digital assets, they're calling it now, instead of cryptocurrency. And we're very much on the cutting edge of that with the Starwire project. And we're really excited about the way that we can empower young musicians and new artists, but even I would say traditional and legacy artists like ourselves that have had music and stuff that's been in vaults for a long time that we can resurface and repurpose.
Yes.
So I'd just like to get your kind of take and your ear to the ground on how you feel how things are going. And since we've entered this whole streaming world,
that's the future. I think it is. I mean, that's why last year I did with my delinquent records, I went through and I found pretty much every record that I recorded and released through various labels or licensing deals that I did because I own the rights to it. And then I put everything through the different platforms, Spotify, wherever, Apple Music, all of that. Yeah. So, and just to have a presence, to have the music out there, and it's, you get your stuff out throughout the whole world, and try to work it to try to get licensing deals for film and television, because I still believe that for an artist is probably one of the best ways of breaking into a market, is if you can manage to get one of your tunes in a film or television show that's happening, that'll shoot your numbers of streams immediately, right? So that's kind of what I've sort of been working on with Delinquent Records. So I had all my back catalogs, which include the album that I did with Paul Dean and stuff that I did with Doug Edwards and the Straight Lines people and stuff, Bob Buckley, and all these people that I'd written songs with, and all the records are there on delinquentrecords.com. And as well as I think I've released 5 new tunes over the course of the last year with the same kind of idea. So that's which I always release them on my marklafrance.com, and then it's marklafrance.com, delinquentrecords.com is kind of interconnected.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and nowadays with recording, I mean, I have another co-writer that I work with out of Australia that I do a project called Thunderbird, which is a harder edge thing. And so you can work with people all over the world. I know we're looking at doing some stuff with Colin, with you, was speaking with Kevin Williams.
Session
yes,
wire,
Yeah.
Because now it's like, it's so, you can work with people throughout the whole world in practically real time.
Yeah.
To collaborate. And then of course, on top of that, you can send your
Encrypted files.
yeah, your files and back and forth till you finally build a tune the way you want it, and you can take it to each song can become like its own gem without having. That's kind of what I've been I haven't concentrated on doing any specific genre. If you listen through the new stuff I've done, the first song I released was called "Be Kind." And it's like basically a vocal with a string quartet and a piano, So because at my age, I don't know about you, but I'm not looking to be, I used to want to be as big as the Beatles, but now I just want to do music. And if I like it, I put it out. If somebody else wants to listen to it, enjoy it, that's fine. But I want to do what I like, what I want to do,
Yeah,
So.
and that's fantastic. And that's, they have this saying that everybody with a computer can make their own album now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the bad news is that everybody with a computer can make their own album now.
That's true.
But we have a project in our Starwire. You see people in the chat saying GoatMANIA and talking about goats. GOAT stands for greatest of all time. And Mark, I would definitely say that you are a goat. And
I'm an old goat, but that's all right.
Yeah. And you're free to be in the GOAT group. And for those people that are joining us and seeing us on YouTube, when you become a GOAT holder and part of the GOAT community, we'll call it the Starwire community, but everybody's going to call it the GOAT community. I just know it. You will have access to people like Mark and myself and Marty and some of the other people we've had on the show over the last. How many episodes have we done, Marty?
This is season 2, episode 3 with Mark LaFrance. And prior to that, we did a 23, one shy of 24 last year. So it's now season 2.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah.
And this was, we did Let's Talk Rock before that, as you remember, which was just audio on iTunes. And we kind of moved to the video because it's more fun. We can show pictures and talk about things.
We'll get better with our graphics and our stuff as the days go on. Yeah.
So, so if you're wondering what all the GOAT comments are about, that's what it is. Goats are going to be an NFT launch that we're doing shortly.
Oh, cool.
And those will be limited edition. And we're going to invite Garnet on now. It's about, look at the time, man. Let's bring Garnet on, and you can tell Mark and the rest of the chat people a little bit about the goats and where we're going from here.
Hey, well, Mark, it's been amazing listening to your stories. One thing I want to talk about that's really to do with the goats is, what you had mentioned, that idea of global collaboration. And, we've gone through COVID, and I guess it kind of forced that even more. And I'm kind of interested in what you thought of what sort of was interesting about some of these collaborations that you've been having just over the internet. What kind of discoveries did you make?
Well, for me, it's been to be able to work with somebody out of Australia and create a song and then send the files to somebody else, and it builds. And by the end, you end up having this piece of music that people, you've had maybe 5, 6, 7 different people in different parts of the planet that have contributed to this. Of course, a lot of times it's Mark LaFrance but it's not. It's all. And whenever I release these, I always try to put it, give the proper credits to everybody who is involved because it's never. You can't do. I've always been a collaborator because
share the
collaborating
brackets, as Marty would say.
Share the brackets, like I.
Yeah, because you have without other people, and you can't do it on your own. I mean,
Yeah, I kind of wonder, in some of these, financially distressed parts of the world, typically that have been sort of cut off from mainstream. But now that technology is coming to them, those kind of cultures and even the music influences from those cultures, I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of new discoveries kind of even made musically from those locations, being able to collaborate with, like, who knows what kind of players or
Well, it is. I've heard some stuff like from where collaboration. I can't remember whether they are hip hop artists, but in parts of Africa and these where they got no money, but they've developed this star structure where these people, normally would be in ghettos and stuff, but they've ended up creating amazing music where they become, all of a sudden their music's become huge in the US,
Yeah.
and it's pretty remarkable to see that type of thing happening, how music can pull somebody out of a dire straits, and
Yeah.
and boom,
Yeah.
if you collaborate and you end up creating some interesting music, different
Yeah.
types of music.
That was sort of the background of hip hop, right? Too, is
Yeah.
they were taking, these throwaway technology and making cool music with it.
Well, it is. I know a lot of our guys at our generation are not, they think because I love rock and roll. I started playing rock and roll, but I have a lot of respect for various hip hop artists. First of all, the amount of lyrics that some of these guys can put and remember in one of their pieces, and being a drummer, some of the rhythms that they do that are just like, like almost like very complicated rhythms. I've learned to appreciate some of them. I notice you see sometimes like some of the, like Herbie Hancock and some of the more great jazz players have actually come along where they've integrated that type of style into some of their jazz pieces, right? So it's interesting. I mean, it's just a different.
Yeah,
there it is.
So we're talking about this technology, really. NFTs, is not just another way to sell music, but a really different, utility that they have as well. So in our case, as we're, you can see these goat characters here, and really the artwork is about engaging our imagination, sort of in the storytelling, the idea that, I have this unique goat. This is whether it's 5 or 10,000 of these goats, we don't know how many is going to be in the collection quite yet. That information will be coming in the coming weeks. But the idea is that, we've created these, program them for collaboration. They're going to incentivize collaboration and also innovation. We're wanting to talk to, those people who are, like Sessionwire, like Colin's working with Sessionwire, innovating technology that's connecting musicians together in a way they've never been able to collaborate before. So we started as a tech company building our own software, but because of the foundation we've laid, kind of with our own crypto token called the Starr token, we now have about a $12 million fund, and we're looking for those artists out there, for those companies that are innovating. And it's going to be the goats. We want people like yourself, people with wisdom. They've gone through the music industry. They know the ins and outs. They've seen success. But to bring the goats together as a mastermind, to really just light up the fuel on this and really create some amazing things in the years that we have before us.
I see Noah in the chat. Just want to do a shout out. He says, nice to see Mark Devrons there. So welcome to Startalk Live, Noah. And a few others. Chris has joined us. And Doss has joined us. And of course, Tim, good to see you again. I always like to give a quick shout out to some of the people that have joined. And of course, if any of you guys have any questions for Mark or for Marty or any of us, now is a really good opportunity. We got just under 10 minutes left in the show, and we would love to get some of your feedback and some of your questions in real time if you want.
I love this artwork. It's really cool.
These are the goats, and I think as we come closer to the launch, we're going to see it's what's called generative art, in that we have 200 different traits, from clothing, instruments, to jewelry that the goats
Oh, wow.
will be wearing, and there'll be 10,000 unique art pieces
Wow.
that
That's
the
really good.
user sort of calls their own and creates their, really uses as their social media profile. The other story that I found interesting that you brought up was the Little Mountain Sound, that particular venue. And this is something already some projects are reaching out to us in regards to recreating some of those venues, maybe not so much recording studios, but the venues, the classic ones that bands have played in various cities around the world. Some of the VR people are reaching out saying, we want to recreate those venues so people can experience them if they're not able to travel to those cities. New Orleans has a bunch of these famous old jazz venues. And those are some of the things that, are, being talked about right now in development so that people can experience. It's the same music, but we want to give a richer experience. And you were saying how you guys would sit in the hallways at Rocky Mountain Sound and see people go by, and how many people in the studio audience listening right now, what would you be willing to pay to sit in the hallways, to sit in those recording sessions, to watch your favorite artist just record some of those amazing songs? I think, all of you guys sort of take for granted, maybe because it's your life and it's your job, so you're not so starstruck in the moment. But
Well, I just have to interrupt you there for a second, Garnet, because you bring up a really good point. And I think Mark will attest to this. For example, when Bon Jovi first came to Little Mountain to record, they hadn't had a hit record yet.
No.
They had a song on the radio called "She's a Little Runaway" or something like that.
Yeah.
But we all thought they were just some other,
Band.
a band that just came to, record. So the fact is, getting in on these sessions with any of the new talent that we're going to sort of spotlight, you'll probably, wait a few years and look back, and then you'll be on Startalk Live. Talking about, hey, I knew this person before they were famous, and that type of thing. And that's what's really exciting, is to be there at the point of creation, or at least the point of finishing something really cool.
There it is.
Yeah. And that's sort of another function of the NFTs, is it's an access, and depending on what kind of fan it is that's owning that NFT, if they're providing a lot of energy to the network, if they're promoting, even tracking if they show up for shows, that NFT can be upgraded to like a VIP pass to meet your favorite artist. And then that way the artists know, this person has been a long time fan with me. I want to give them, this special privilege. And that's all, going to be what we're building into the goats as they come online. This is a scene from Glastonbury. I don't know if you guys had ever participated in any of the concerts in England there, but they're another group that, are in talks right now that we want to be a part of their festival. And, wherever, hopefully we see some of, the end of the COVID scene and begin to be able to experience live music again. But this is, NFTs are all part of it. It's not just another way to sell music. I did want to bring up, an example, because the space is being innovated. This is Jacob Lee. He's an artist I met just recently in Twitter Spaces, amazing vocalist. And just this week, he sort of did something really unique, in that the first, he gave away the first 500 of these keys. Now, this key isn't even a musical song, but it's a utility token for his fans with yet to be revealed, utility in his ongoing relationship. It's kind of like a key. It's saying, hey, I want to get behind Jacob. You can see his other 2 albums that are just started to be sold this week as NFTs. And I really thought this was cool because the key began as a gift from Jacob to his audience. And then, of course, they started to sell. And the price tag now of the resale of that particular key, that can go up in value. And it can even depend on, one of the things I said that I wanted to do for those guys, Marty, if you have, one of your rare pieces of vinyl that you would be willing to sell to me, I said, I want to make a rare piece of vinyl available to, what do we got? There's 6,700 holders of that key. So I'm going to offer that to Jacob in support of his career. And they're going to do a raffle, we're going to do a raffle here before we leave the show here. But that's kind of an innovation of even the fans interacting with each other with these NFTs, providing value. Cool. This is cool. This is just one. He was able to sell this with a credit card, or to distribute these NFTs with a credit card, which is somewhat not that common, because there is a onboarding process to getting into NFTs and crypto, and sometimes it's hard. But I thought it was an innovative thing that he had done here, and that was just this past week. So we've got our eyes on, musicians around the world that are doing innovative stuff, releasing their music in new ways, and we want, and
even traditional artists like Tim says, how about Goat Snoop Dogg going to Arizona?
Right.
He's got.
Oh yeah. Actually, I just saw the banner for that. So the plans are Starwire will be at Phoenix. It's February 22nd and 23rd.
Right.
And I just found out Snoop Dogg is going to be there, and he's a big crypto guy. So I guess, Colin, if you're able to make it there, you and him are going to do some collaboration. Yeah. Now, that
might have to.
Something, right?
Snoop
and Colin.
You can do it there.
Snoop Dogg and the Session Cat. How about that? Well, it's great to have you on the show, Mark. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, it was a great pleasure.
Usually what happens at this time, it's 3 minutes to the show ending, and we do a bit of a raffle. And I don't know if you wanted to do a whitelisting tonight, Garnet, or whether we had something else planned as a giveaway.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. So we're gonna do what's our hashtag gonna be tonight?
I don't know. What are they saying out in the audience there?
They're saying free the goats. I think we had that last week.
Yeah, we definitely
Let's do one for Mark. Let's do Mark the Goat.
Mark.
And it's Mark with the C. So let's do
That's
hashtag
right,
Mark the Goat.
Whitelisted.
Okay. Let me show you that.
Whitelisted if you make a mistake.
Tim saying GoatMANIA.
Mark the Goat.
There you go. All right. Officially a goat.
Good, Mark the Goat.
You know what's funny is, now we've heard the story about the rock climbing wall, because last week's guest, Archer, who painted a mural for
David Lee Roth.
He was talking about the rock climbing wall. So you must have met Archer.
I probably did. Yeah.
Oh,
We're there.
Paul Archer, the mural artist.
he's the guy that used to work do murals.
Did he do the murals at the Little Mountain Sound in the back there? Because I know they had some pretty good ones there. Yeah.
So he was on the show last week.
Oh, cool.
And once again, great to have you, Mark. And we will do a gig together this year for sure. Marty's working on it, right? And we got lots of Mark the Goats going on, and all these people coming out of the woodwork. I didn't know you were lurking here. Welcome.
Well, these guys know that to get whitelisted for one of these goats is in such a kind of an easy way. Like when these guys typically have to go into our Discord channel and kind of be regular and kind of they level up in their chats. And I gotta say, I got to give real props to these guys because there's 3 people who became savage goats.
Wow.
It's like
savage.
They're beyond they've talked more in our Discord channel than me, Jason, Colin, Marty combined.
Wow.
I'm not sure how many messages that was, but it's pretty hard to get to the level of a savage goat. So, to D-Ray and Lord Packsmart. Who is that?
Wow. Shout out to those guys.
Wow. Way to goat.
Now, is whitelisting Garnet just for Mark's sake? Is that like getting on the early bird list or first
it
dibs?
Basically allows you to sort of the time freedom to mint the NFT without sort of having to battle through other people when they're buying it. Sometimes these sell out in an hour or so, and if you're at work and you don't get a chance to sort of buy it in enough time. So the whitelisting and plus the idea of whitelisting you can choose your time when the certain transaction fees are higher during the daytime versus later at night. So you can save, $40 or sometimes more.
Wow. I think you should show Mark the Goat. Some people are spelling it M-A-R-K, so they might not get in the draw. So make sure it's M-A-R-C.
Correct.
The Goat. Mark the Goat. There we go.
Mark the Goat.
There you
Somebody
go.
says Snoop the Goat. All right. Got some.
Snoop the Goat.
I have a funny.
Anyway, I just also want to thank everybody in the chat for coming out and supporting Startalk Live. Again, you just amaze me. Like every Tuesday night, you guys show up without fail, and you give us so much encouragement in the chat, and you make our guests feel like $1 million. And we just want to thank you for doing that. So thanks. You make the world rock, you guys. So shall we spin the big wheel?
Here she goes. Who's it going to be?
Nobody knows. There we go.
Wheel of Fortune.
Kev Mo.
Kev Mo.
Two times in a row.
There you go.
This guy's got
before.
This guy should buy a lottery ticket tomorrow. He's
This guy wins all the time.
That's funny.
That is.
You got to
all right
on it. You got to wait the wheel.
Yeah, wait the wheel. Marty, you would know about that, right?
Remember,
you used to work at a lot of those.
Yeah, we used to.
Carnivals.
Carnivals were funny, but anyway,
a lot of fun.
All
right. Kevmo says, I want to gift it to Lynn. Wow. Now there's some generosity.
What a nice man.
Welcome, Val. I just see you there now too. So this is a lot of fun.
Sure.
Great. Well, thanks again, Mark. And for everybody else, we'll see you next week, 7 p.m. Pacific time for Startalk Live with Colin and Marty and Garnet and who knows.
Yes, guys.
All right.